Hi, and welcome to the Gameskinny podcast. I'm Stephanie, and today is August the 14th, 2013. We're actually joined here by a new guest today. It's going to be terribly exciting. This is Jason from Drinkbox. I'm just going to go through some of the other folk that's joining me today. We have Brian.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian from Gameskinny. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we have, whatchamacallit, sorry, Ernesto.
Yep, I'm whatchamacallit.
That guy.
What's your name?
I'm the Dork Knight. I'm the Dork Knight on Gameskinny.
Gary, who is our technical director this week, said he might not be speaking much.
Technical.
Yeah, I'm Gary. I'm filling in Rob's shoes for a few episodes, so don't kill me if I screw things up, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, back to Jason, because he gets 2 mentions this week.
The man of the hour.
Thank you.
Man of the hour, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a game designer at Drinkbox Studios. Recently Guacamelee, this year on the PS3 and the PS Vita, back in April, and just last week on Steam.
Yay!
Yeah.
We have Jay.
Hello, I'm Jay, also from Gameskinny, because we all are. You can find me at gameskinny.com/gs/JAY, and that's me.
There's an R there, too.
No, don't worry about it.
Does he remember anymore? We also have Louie, the last one of our crew tonight.
Last but not least, of course.
Last but not least.
I'm Louie. You might see my ridiculously long articles on Gameskinny, and they're just too much to handle.
Too much to handle, they don't make the front page.
They even
Exactly.
break the feature option.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's it. I just around. The
Yeah, that's all of us. I'm Mary Sakura on Gameskinny. It's /Mary Sakura, but you can still find me under Stephanie. It's really messed up. I'm not sure how that goes anymore. It was simpler before. But, yeah, we have quite a few questions to ask this wonderful gentleman today, so we should get on them.
Okay, let's get started.
Yes,
All right,
Ernesto?
so I'm going to start off. Drinkbox Studios, I know you guys from Tales from Space. Mutant Blob's Attack was the first game that came out for the Vita and the PS3. The first question would be, what made you guys pick the name Drinkbox Studios first?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, back when the company was founded about 5 years ago, when Chris and Graham, 2 of the founders of the company, were on a business trip in Seattle, they were in a hotel trying to think of names for their company. The first name that they thought of was Not a Number Software, which is a little bit of like a programming in-joke. Specifically, anytime you try to do a calculation that doesn't give you a result, like dividing by 0 is a really messy thing to do in programming. And so they thought of that. They both Chris and Graham come from a programming background, so they thought it was really hilarious. They kind of loved that. So the initial name for the company was Not a Number of Games. The problem with that was very quickly they realized that everyone kind of hated it. Anyone who wasn't a programmer didn't get it and didn't really like it at all. So internally within the studio, they asked for suggestions. They had a lot of people submit ideas. The one that stuck the most, the one that was the most popular, was Drinkbox. And very soon afterwards, it immediately led into that iconic graphic of theirs, which is the little juice box that's really actually a controller on its side, which I think
I thought that was really cute, yeah.
Really
Totally.
helped cement the idea for sure. So it just kind of, like I said, joking around with some programming terms, quickly found out that wasn't the quite way to go, and just collaboratively within the studio environment kind of figured out like Drinkbox was a nice idea that everyone kind of grabbed.
So the games that you guys have developed so far have been platformers.
Mm-hmm.
So the Mutant Blobs and Guacamelee have been platformers. Has your studio planned on expanding to other genres, or are you guys kind of sticking with the platformer platform.
Yeah, no, we'll absolutely be looking at expanding into any genre. I mean, initially we just started with platformers entirely because it's a style of game that everyone in the studio is a big fan of, and we all really wanted to make platformers. So it's really not that we felt we had to do a platformer; it's that we all really wanted to do a platformer. And for me, it's been a long time, a literal lifelong dream of mine to make a Metroidvania game. I think they're the absolute best games ever. Period.
They're
Being able to
timeless.
make one, absolutely, and speedrun culture is my absolute favorite thing about gaming, and I might get to that in a little bit. But yeah, we were big fans of platformers. Everyone in the studio really knows them very well. It kind of aligns with the expertise of everyone in the studio. But no, not at all. We don't feel that we are a platforming studio necessarily. Whatever game type suits the game we want to make, we'll definitely move into for sure. The next games we start working on, if we feel that a platformer isn't the best venue to express that game, we'll do something else. 100%, absolutely. It just so, like I said, it happens that we're all big fans of platformers, and if we can keep making great ones, we'll stick with that for a bit. But you'll just have to wait and see what the next games are.
Ooh.
No details, just
No.
Well, yeah, and I think when kids are introduced into video gaming, I think one of the first genres they actually play is platforming. When you talk to someone like me and they're talking to somebody younger, one of the first games I'm going to talk about is Mario Brothers, Metroid, Castlevania, everything on the NES. So I could see how that would be a good start-off point for a development studio with Mutant Blobs, and with the quality of work that you guys have done, because I reviewed your game and I've played it a lot, and I can say with the quality that you guys have put out, I could see you guys stepping into different genres and succeeding.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That makes me feel really good. That's something I'll definitely pass along. That'll give us kind of the motivation to jump into that. That's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, whatever we think will be the most effective way to communicate the game we want to communicate, we'll definitely do that.
So next, we wanted to know, you are one of the founding members, or?
No, I am not. The
Okay.
three founding members being Chris, Graham, and Ryan
Okay.
are the three founding members.
So would you know the story of how it came to be from the founding members? Were they in a bar? How did it come to be?
Yeah, no, I definitely know the story behind it. With them at another studio, but the three of them worked together at a studio in Toronto called Pseudo Interactive. They did a couple games on the PS3 and Xbox 3. The three founders worked at a studio called Pseudo Interactive. They released a couple of games called Full Auto and Full Auto 2. They were racing combat games, as well as a game Cell Damage. So they worked together at that studio in Toronto. It was a fairly big studio that unfortunately closed down in early 2007. And both of them, all three guys, had a background of working in AAA studios. Graham has a background working at Silicon Knights. One of the first members to join the company previously worked at Rockstar.
Ooh.
So they came from that AAA background, and they knew what that was like. And they just like many AAA developers had gone through a series of layoffs, which is far too common in the industry. Unfortunately, you hear about it every couple of weeks. You hear about that.
Yeah.
And it's part of the culture of big game development, unfortunately. And they were just at the point where they realized that they were fed up with that. And so they thought the time was right. They felt that they themselves were experienced and ready to move into that. So they went right for it. And they started Drinkbox, and they started it on the principles of not wanting to be like a AAA developer, not wanting to rely on layoffs, not wanting to kind of do all the things that annoyed them when they worked in AAA development. And so far, I'd say it's been hugely successful. It's a very positive place to be a part of.
Yeah, that's what I've seen in a lot of the indie games, is that you can tell the passion behind the games, because it's usually a group of guys that are good friends and they've come from these backgrounds and they enjoy going into this small place where they can do what they want and they make a great game. And that's just how it is.
And nothing feels better.
Yeah.
Nothing feels better at all.
Yeah.
And you kind of touched on the next question, that since Drinkbox was founded by industry veterans, that there are they worked on certain titles. I know you named a few, like the Full Auto series, but what are some of them that stick out in your mind, like some of the biggest ones that people have worked on in the studio?
Sure. I'd say those are the biggest ones. I think Pseudo was a big deal for the guys. Like I said, Graham was part of Silicon Knights. He was part of Two Human.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I remember.
But he was able to take away the right things from that experience. He definitely learned from that, and like I said, it definitely informed how they wanted to run their studio, for sure. One of the members who worked at Rockstar, he worked on the Warriors game for PS2.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a good game.
It is really good for that studio. So I think those are the biggest games. Like I said, more than anything, the experiences from those games are that's what they decide. Like, we want our company to be this. We don't want it to be like this.
Yeah, and that all that different experiences, it shows in the final product. Just like what works and what doesn't work, and you're able to fine tune the product and give gamers what they want with none of the kind of workarounds that AAA studios kind of throw upon the gamers at times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then myself, I come from a background, because other than the indie game development, the other big thing in Toronto is mobile game development, mobile and casual game development. And I came from that background. I worked in that for quite a few years, for 5 years. And it was okay. Like I said, same kind of thing. The games weren't important, but it was the experience I took from it was much more important. I mean, part of what I learned is that it wasn't as fulfilling as I wanted it to be. It was really interesting to be making games, but I really wanted to be making great games. And luckily now I know I'm making good games with a great team, and it feels better than ever. So like I said, I think that's kind of the story, is that everyone at Drinkbox's background just kind of informed the culture that they want to carry into Drinkbox, and like I said, it's all the better for it.
So I'm gonna build off of that. You said you were working in more mobile industry before. How did you get into Drinkbox? What is your history with it? Were you there from the founding, or did you kind of get worked in?
No, I came in fairly recently, just about a year ago.
Okay.
And so I've been doing that, but like I said, Toronto has a very healthy and a very interesting development scene. And I mean, I've worked with the same people at 3 or 4 different companies, and go off to other countries. And the web of contacts is so tight in Toronto. So I was working on mobile and casual games, but I was still making out to industry events. In 2011, I was at an industry event in town called DigiFest. And Drinkbox was showing off the very, very early version of Guacamelee. And I went and I played an early version of it. I met with Graham, and I told him how much I really, really enjoyed it, how much I loved it, and kind of chatted with him, and kind of, and then from there, they had a posting that appeared one day saying they were looking for a senior game designer, and I was like, this is definitely and I want to be a part of. So I definitely will be. And in addition to working on mobile games, I had a lot of side projects on the go. A couple weird games I was kind of working on. One that's based around its user interface for the game is a calendar, and it's a time travel game where you can manipulate a calendar, like those little push block games where you can slide an entire row or a column. So you have to manipulate with like sliding puzzle mechanics this calendar that causes time shifts and stuff. I was working on that, and right now, and as well, I was also working with a group of Toronto developers. We're working on our own Mega Man fan game, because I'm a huge Mega Man.
Really? That's awesome.
So I mean, there's a lot of Mega Man fan games out there, and the Mega Man fan community is one of the best in gaming for sure. I've been doing level design for that. Put out a couple trailers for it. So I was showing the initiative that I was working on some okay games, in my professional life, but really outside of 9 to 5, I was just striving to always try to create unique and interesting games.
So next, we wanted to talk about the actual environment of working at Drinkbox. So over at Gameskinny, I work at the office there, and it's very laid back, and I can wear whatever I want. And so, what's it like working there? Is it really laid back, or?
Sure. Every game studio I've worked at, has been very casual. Really, like, one good thing I like about working in games is that typically it's always about, all they care about are the results.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we just want to make sure you're doing a good job, you're contributing, you're doing your best, which I personally respect. Like, I've never been a fan of uniforms or, anything like that. It's like, my work should speak to who I am, not how I have to dress or anything. And the game industry is very supportive of that.
I totally agree with that mentality, by the way.
Yes. And, and the environment very casual, very laid back, extremely professional. One thing, because we often get asked what the environment is like in the studio, and one thing that they always say is sometimes people get a weird impression of the studio because it's very quiet. And that's entirely because everyone is just focused on what they're doing. Like myself, during a day I might be building a really awesome level for Guacamelee, and I'm like, I don't want to be doing anything else. I want to just be making this level. Artists are like, I could be messing around or I could be doing something else, but I'd probably be drawing this really cool 50-foot creature. That's way more interesting than YouTube. So everyone is just so focused. But yeah, it's totally a really great environment. But like I said, it's a very professional one because everyone is at the top of their game. Everyone is so good at what they do, and just is always focused day in and day out on just let's make this game something really special and great.
Cool. So, Jay.
And they're hiring. I saw that on your website. You're definitely hiring, just apparently not one for phones.
No robot answering machines for Steph.
No robot answering machines.
Access denied.
So we wanted to ask, so you told us a little bit about the work environment that you have. Do you have any funny stories about just kind of working with Drinkbox? Any kind of weird moments or panic button things? We have an example of the Robotoki debacle, if you've heard of that.
No, what? I haven't heard that.
Actually, Steph is kind of the expert on this one, if you want to
I'm
take
the
that
expert.
one. You wrote an article about it. You know a lot more than I do. And I will pass this off on you.
Steph, tell the story.
Tell the story. Well, the founder of Robotoki, I can't remember his name quite this moment, but he started up in, he used to work at on the Call of Duty series. And so, Call of Duty, they get a lot of death threats. So what he did was he implemented a panic button in his new studio. And the day they put it in, one of the developers, while they were walking out, found the button and thought, ooh, it's new, I'm going to push it, and then left. And so, the police came and found the doors locked. But when they went around, they found like a life-size statue of Ghost from Call of Duty standing at the window with like his rifle. And they thought, oh no, it's an armed gunman. So they raided the entire place, and the studio head happened to be inside. So they had a face-off against a statue before they realized.
Yeah, we hope the studio hasn't had any armed assaults by SWAT.
They just see a big masked wrestler in the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, just...
No, nothing that extreme or alarming. Like I said, no, we're pretty laid back and pretty jokey and hilarious. Like, nothing that drastic has happened. Just kind of general day-to-day foolishness.
Well, in that case, are there any notable tomfoolery or shenanigans or pranks that you'd like to tell us?
Oh man. At the risk of calling out someone who's not present or like, I don't want to get anyone involved, so I'm trying to think of only something that relates to myself. First-hand story. There aren't specifically anything. I can't believe I'm kind of blanking. Like I said, just the general day-to-day stuff. Like, the humor of Guacamelee kind of comes through in the game, and a lot of people have responded and resonated with it. They really appreciate that, and that's just the result of everyone in the studio kind of helped out with that. So everything that makes Guacamelee interesting and funny is just a result of everyone kind of getting their little bit in, and anyone would just be like, you know what, it'd be really great if this happened, or well, what if a guy talked like this? Why don't we? And that would always just kind of go into the mix. And if we reacted positively to it internally, if we all thought it was pretty funny, we thought then it was definitely worth going in.
How many of you guys have the Mexican wrestling mask?
Actual wrestling masks? There's one that floats around the office, and only one person's allowed to wear it. It's
Really? I just imagine this
point.
Christmas party where you've got like a ring set up just so you could get drunk and wrestle. Perfect Christmas party minus maiming.
Well, now
There may be maiming.
Your Christmas party, especially considering we very recently found Halloween costumes on the internet.
Cool.
Wait, really?
That link. You can buy. Someone has made, like, entirely separate from us, has made a Halloween costume of the character from Guacamele of Juan.
Excellent.
And he's selling it for $200.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I think you need one. Maybe that should be your uniform.
Oh.
I would choose the chicken costume if I was wrestling. That's just me. No, but you were talking about the humor. I'm sorry to detract for a second, but I have noticed a lot of little they're not exactly Easter eggs, but just sources of the humor, like memes on there. Like, for example, there's the Me Gusta face on one of the billboards, or another one where it's a rip-off of a meme on Team Fortress 2 where the spy is smoking all the cigarettes, but instead he has a mouthful of churros instead. It's just it's just catching little glimpses of that. You're running around the town and you're like, wait, I know where that's from. I get that. I like it.
That's a little bit of a part. I know, like, in all honesty, like, the memes have taken a bit of flack. I know some people are a little tired.
Really?
It has been not a whole lot. Definitely, people have definitely appreciated the game references.
I like the invincible chickens.
Yeah.
I got that far.
The Chozo statue.
Chuzo statue.
Chuzo statue, yes.
That extra O means a whole lot. I don't know. The Chuzo statues, there's obviously a Chozo statue, as well as Casa Crashers. Seeing all the, everyone has really loved the game stuff, and that really is just born from the fact that it's our way of kind of, having a little bit of shared experience with the user, and it's kind of like, you love Castle Crashers? We love Castle Crashers. Let's high five right now through this video.
And that's exactly how it feels.
So, like, we're just expressing ourselves. We're fans of games. We're huge fans of games.
Well, you should be. I can't imagine.
I appreciate that.
And at the end of the day, all of it is set dressing. It's flavor for the world. And I mean, to be contextual, I absolutely believe that the people that live inside this world probably would be inclined to put a Castle Crashers poster up. Why wouldn't they? People in Mexico. People even in the fictional world of Mexico that we've presented, they love Castle Crashers too. So who doesn't love Castle Crashers? Who doesn't love Castle Crashers?
Exactly.
It's a good question, isn't it? We'll have to leave that to the viewers. Which one of you does not love Amazing?
And
all right.
Really, with the Steam Workshop integration, now that people are able to create and share their own player skins in the Steam version of the game, that just opens the door even more so. And there's already been quite a bit of traction with that. A lot of people have been creating their own skins and sharing them through Steam. You can get there's a really cool cyborg luchador you can use to play.
I've got to look into that. That's really cool. Not that the costumes that aren't already available aren't, very colorful and awesome. Yeah, they're pretty cool themselves, but I do want to look into a cyborg wrestler.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, and like that's one thing that's really great about one of my favorite things about gaming is mods and that community aspect. I mean, a good game should support some kind of modding, and that's the way we felt would best allow players to express themselves through the game is by creating and sharing their characters.
Cool. As a Canadian developer, what made you choose the set of your new game to be Mexico?
Oh,
This new fictional Mexico of magic.
absolutely. And that entirely was due to the fact that the concept was so strong. Internally, our lead animator, Augusto, he's from Mexico, and when brainstorming ideas for games, it came about that he was like, you know what, here's a story I'd like to tell, and it's informed. There's a lot of Mexican culture in the game. Obviously, a lot comes from Mexican folk stories and fairy tales, inform quite a few of the game's characters and setting.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was just so strong that it was like, we'll just go with it. Absolutely, it was an absolute no-brainer. And we definitely were confident that we had someone on the team who could, treat the subject matter properly and respectfully. And so we just, the guys really started the ball, and then I came in and I carried it through to completion and just kind of like ran with it. It just felt so strong and so right. Didn't even question it for a second.
Did you get to go visiting? Was there like a group, like a whole company field trip down to Mexico?
There wasn't
Or at least Chipotle.
company-wide one. I think some of the guys had, not myself though. But hopefully some kind of Mexican tour celebrations would be in order. That would be great.
I approve of this story. Yes.
So Guacamelee did really well with the fans and also with other developers and gaming websites and magazines. You guys got a lot of good scores, gaming scores. When you guys were developing the game, did you guys realize that you were making such a big game? Like, you guys have quite a following, especially with Guacamelee.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure. It did. Getting that kind of confident praise through the early versions of the game and through public demos at events like PAX. The praise it was getting was really nice, and it really kind of drove us forward to let's push forward and want to finish this. Really, when you're developing a game, it's really the critiques and criticisms that are actually more important. And really, that's kind of that's been true for every game that I've worked on. Is whenever we would demo the game, have any kind of public demos, locally at Toronto events, but also when we take it to PAX East, definitely paid very close attention to all of the critiques the game got, what people had a problem with, and learning from that. Definitely asking them, like, why do you feel that way? What can we do to improve it? One specific example was demoing the game. I believe it was at PAX East last year, or I think it was definitely last year. One of the editors from IGN, Colin Moriarty, played the game, and at the time we had only implemented support for the analog sticks. And he was the first person to speak up and say, like, I really want to use the D-pads. Can you please let me use the D-pad to play this game? And so we set about doing that, and it was actually one of those things where the immediate reaction was, of course we'll do that, and then getting back to the studio and digging into it, realized it was actually a whole lot more work than we thought it would be. But since it had elicited such a strong reaction, we thought it was definitely worth it. Let's move into that. And there's quite a bit of other, prior to the release of Guacamelee, initially we had closed beta with a few select people, and we got feedback from them, and that was taken into heart. So ultimately, criticisms are what helped shape the game and would inform the game. But that's not to say that praise wasn't needed for sure. At those long days, or after you've been working on the game for so long, months and months and months, that reassurance that you're on the right path and that you're doing the right thing is what carries you through to make sure you finish it.
So with that said, are you guys worried about as a studio, the next IP that you guys work on, whenever that does happen, are you guys afraid that you're going to get a lot of criticism going into it, it being not as successful as Guacamelee?
Not living up to the name
Or
of,
just
you mean?
being-
Right, not living up to it.
Okay. Absolutely terrified at all times. But that's what keeps you sharp. That's what keeps you determined to want to work through that. But absolutely, at all times, you're definitely worried. We were initially worried that Guacamelee would not be as well received as Mutant Blobs Attack. I believe more than a few websites had named Mutant Blobs Attack the best Vita launch title, which was already enough to tough to live up to. And some people were worried that Guacamelee wouldn't even live up to Mutant Blobs Attack.
Well, it was one of the launch games, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was a launch title, which it definitely benefited from that, and luckily, got that finished out, and were able to hopefully help, show the Vita as a really strong device. Maybe not from a technical standpoint, but definitely one that can definitely host some fun games. Because above anything else, number one, Mutant Blobs Attack tried to be a fun game.
Right.
And at all times, you're always worried about your next game. Whenever you're working one, for sure, you always are terrified that your best is behind you. Definitely. So, but like I said, you just use that to try to do a better job than ever before. And before we release something publicly, or we show a first trailer, or we talk about what we're going to do next, we want to make sure that we feel really, really good about it. That we feel like, yes, this is something that we feel strongly about that could surpass. And then you have to leave it up to everyone. Say, hey guys, this is what we've got. What do you think? And then go from there. It can be a big blow when everyone is like, so it's not Guacamelee.
For sure. So we're actually going to be... Oh.
Nope, sorry.
We're going to be talking about the actual game itself in just a second or two, and hopefully giving away some codes, I believe, we're trying to do during this. Before we do that, we just want to know, what games have you been playing recently? Because before we started recording, we know we're talking about how you have this crazy Xbox gamer score, and you've been trying to get PS3 trophies and all that. So what have you been playing?
Sure. I play a lot, to be honest. I play a lot of new stuff. Most recently, I made a blog post on my blog because I had talked to some people that there's a lot of games that I play on an annual basis, and I've played literally every year for 10, 15 years. And someone asked me, well, what's this list of games? So I wound up being a list of 35 games that I play every year, at least once.
Wow.
One of them I played just last week was Donkey Kong Country 2. And I set my new, amazing. I set my new best time for 102% with 2 hours and 55 minutes to get 102% in that. And I'm currently working on Donkey Kong Country 3, 103%ing that game. My current best time is 4 hours, 2 minutes, so I'm trying to go for 3:30 on this run. Just a couple months ago,
You're insane.
I set my personal best. I'm just talking about what I play. A couple months ago, I set my personal Super Metroid time, which is 54 minutes.
Oh my god.
But,
Wow. That is insane. That is absolutely insane.
And like I said, speedrunning is the most sublime thing a human being can do.
Have you ever tried the Majora's Mask one for N64?
No, I love...
No.
It's weird because all of the, especially Ocarina of Time, those kind of sequence breaks runs really involve breaking the game in some horrible ways. I'm kind of like a purist. I never break the game. I just play it as nice and silky smooth as you can. But in addition to all that old stuff I like to keep up on, I'm always playing new stuff. Been playing The Last of Us most recently. I picked up Muramasa Rebirth for my Vita, so I've been pounding away on that, which is just beautiful, and it looks amazing on the Vita screen. Really fantastic. DuckTales Remastered I played, which is also, it's really beautiful, it's really amazing.
It looks really crisp now. I'm just looking at screenshots. Gorgeous.
Yeah, I love the way they remade everything, and the voices, and...
Oh, that's a brilliant... It's really, really fun and amazing, and DuckTales is one of the games I list. I play through DuckTales once a year for sure. And yeah, I've been playing that. I got it yesterday. I tried to beat it yesterday, but there's a weird part at the end of that game that's really tough, and I got a little stuck at the end of the night. So I'll have to revisit that. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what's the most recent newest game that I finished and played through.
I mean, The Last of Us is pretty recent, so...
Yeah, that is.
That was BioShock Infinite was great this year. DMC was amazing. It's my new favorite Devil May Cry game. I think Ninja Theory knocked it out of the park and killed it. And I mean, like, I thought from the early screenshots, especially with that European architecture, inspired architecture, like it seemed to me that Bayonetta had out Devil May Cry, and now DMC was trying to out Bayonetta. So I'm absolutely stoked for Bayonetta 2. It's probably Bayonetta 2 and the Wonderful 101. Platinum Games is one of my top 3 developers for sure.
I wanted to ask real quick in relation to your speed runs. Have you ever tried the blindfold run?
Oh man! No, I'm not a savant Zen master. That's amazing. Are there other videos of anyone doing?
Yeah, there's one I've seen where he was playing through Ocarina of Time and he beat the whole game blindfolded, and he did it by like sounds, purely from sounds.
Oh God! What?
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I think you could do that too.
That's
swear,
terrifying.
That is.
Oh my gosh! I guess you couldn't. Oh man.
We talked about it last week. Are you excited for the DLC for BioShock?
Yes.
The new single player?
I already picked... Actually, I got BioShock Infinite on 360, oddly enough. Yeah, I said I hadn't played in a while, but it's the first game I picked up on 360 in a couple years, and I really find that I identify franchises with console. Like BioShock I played on Xbox 360, BioShock 2, so BioShock belongs on Xbox for me, so... I was like, I got to pick up Infinite on 360, and I did. And I bought the season pass right away because I trust Irrational.
Right.
Yeah.
Highly respect them.
I'm excited to see Rapture again. Honestly.
Yes, that's going to be really interesting. So what I've been doing is that since I've already bought in, I've already bought into the DLC, like Burial at Sea. So I've been avoiding it entirely. I'm like, I've already bought it. I know I'm going to download it day one and play through it, so I haven't even seen the little trailer or teaser they put out yet. I've been purposely just avoiding it.
Really?
Don't spoil it.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting, to say the least.
I have high hopes. I was a big fan of BioShock Infinite. I thought it was really great. I love it so much. My wife is a non-gamer, and I don't want to... Can we get into minor spoilers? I don't want to spoil everything, but just... Okay, I won't spoil. No, I won't. But my wife...
I spoiled it last week. It's okay.
Okay, my wife is a non-gamer, but she occasionally likes to watch me play stuff. Especially, like, she watched me play BioShock, so she loved that.
The story-heavy stuff.
I played through BioShock Infinite myself first, and then I told her, it's really great, you got to see it. So then I threw it on easy mode, and I was like, I'll do a quick, like, one-day, 8-hour playthrough. Let's spend, Saturday afternoon, I'll beat the whole thing for you. And she has never read about it. She never saw a preview. She just knew it was a new BioShock game. She thought it was in Rapture again. She didn't know nothing about it. So I started playing the game, and the opening scene where you're in the rowboat with the Lutesses, they have their little back and forth conversation, and then my wife turned to me and she explained the whole plot. And I was like, how did you do that? And she's like, that's what they just said. They're like, they just explained that. I was like, well, I knew that because I saw it.
Wait.
But how did you? And she's amazing. Like, she figures out movie plots by the time they're done.
My
Wow,
sister does that
She
too.
does it like crazy. I don't know how, but I was like, you're not trolling me. And she's like, no. She's like, those two on the rowboat just explained everything, and I'm like, they did, but you're not supposed to know that. It made me feel terrible, and she kept like every time I met a new character, she's like, is that character this? And I was like, no. Holy like, how are you doing this? You're magic. So ultimately, she said she hated it. She's like, predictable. And I was like, no, it's not.
Probably the only person to actually call that game predictable.
Yeah.
Probably the only person.
I think she's just saying it to make you mad. No way. No way.
She likes it. She's good for that kind of stuff. But no, I thought BioShock Infinite was amazing. I'm a big fan.
So what are you picking up soon? Like, there's a couple. Like, next week is a big release week. You got Blacklist coming out. You got Saints Row 4 coming out, and there's another big game I'm totally forgetting right now.
My big game for next week, the one that I'm buying 100%, is Dive Kick.
Dive Kick.
I'm all in for Dive Kick. I am in, and we are going to be having monthly, weekly, maybe hourly Dive Kick tournaments at Drinkbox.
Good.
Really? Wow.
Just constantly, all the time. No, I love fighting games. Watching Evo this year was the best. I'm going next year for sure. I'm absolutely going this year. I love fighting games so much. I've been having a ton of fun with Injustice. I'm a recent Mortal Kombat convert. I spent 20 years hating Mortal Kombat more than anything in the world, and now I kind of get it and I kind of like it. So after playing MK9, which is the first MK game I've ever bought, and really enjoying it, I bought in on Injustice, and I've been really liking Injustice. It's still not as good as Street Fighter, but no, Injustice is plenty fun. I picked up the Zatanna character yesterday. They've been doing a good job with that post-release support. NetherRealm's been doing a good job with, absolutely. So, but Dive Kick is brilliant. Dive Kick is great that it started off as a fighting game in-joke, but it's turned into this...
It's an actual thing now.
Game. What's that?
Like, it's an actual thing now.
Yeah.
And that's the best part about it, that people are actually so jazzed about it and really want it to be a tournament game, and I think that is amazing. I'm such a fan of that.
It is amazing, and the way it distills the fighting game experience and just boils everything down to pure head game. It's just about zoning, it's just about psyching, and just playing mind games, and that's what's going to make it really fun. So Dive Kick's my big game next week, rather, sorry. Yeah, it'll be my game for the next year, probably. But definitely, I didn't play the first two Saints Row games. I got Saints Row the Third on PS Plus like a month and a half ago. I think it was on PS Plus. I got the Platinum in 3 days. I loved it so much. Like, I just in and went for it. I was like, this is amazing. So I'm totally all in for Saints Row. And I like that Volition has just their mantra's been, let's just push. And when we think we've gone too far, we push way further. We just keep going. And I love their commitment to wanting to be crazy with Saints Row. And I'm glad that it started off. I mean, it did start off as a Grand Theft Auto clone. Ideally, they tried to, they wanted to have their own message with it, but that message was muddled. It just came across as a Me Too GTA game. And the fact that they managed to find their own identity with it, and they figured out what worked with it, and they went with it, it's just awesome. So I'm all in with that.
Just cranking it up to 11.
Well, yeah, way past 11, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And that's what I love what they've done. And next week is a big week. I might have to buy everything.
Might have to buy it.
Conviction. I like Conviction, but Splinter Cell Blacklist. Yeah, I've got some friends who worked on that game.
It's already gotten really good reviews on IGN and GameSpot and all that.
It really has. Joystick gave it 5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely looking forward to that, which is really good. I love Splinter Cell games, so I'm really looking forward to that one. And it's gone through it's had a weird journey, that game, because I know quite a few people, including myself, looking at previews for the game, weren't too interested. The first stuff I saw at E3, I was like, oh, okay, I guess airstrikes. But it's gotten better. It's definitely gotten better. I know a lot of people have worked very hard on it, so I'm really excited to check it out. And for any of my friends who worked on Splinter Cell that haven't played Guacamelee yet, I'll definitely have to parlay that into I played Splinter Cell.
Play my game.
Yeah. Play my game. Speaking of your game, we should talk a little bit about that before we run out of crazy amounts of time, because we do have a few questions we want to ask you about, and I'm sure you do want to, exactly.
Sure.
I'm sure you do want to talk about your game. That's
Absolutely.
one of the reasons why you're here.
Sure.
So, Jay, take it away.
Yeah, so I guess just to start out, how about you, just kind of sell us the pitch of Guacamelee. Why don't you tell us the premise, the plot, for people who are watching that don't actually know anything about the game?
Sure, absolutely. So, Guacamelee is at its core. It's presented as a Metroidvania game, which is a non-linear game that allows you to explore at your own pace, discover power-ups, and you play as a simple agave farmer named Juan Aguacate. And you have to, you live in just outside of a small town. You're not very well respected. Everyone in the town, everyone in the world looks up to luchadors as these mythical figures. There's a big luchador statue in the town square, so Juan always dreamed of being a luchador himself, but he never really attained those dreams. And one day when a skeleton Charo attacks the town and comes back from the dead, he kidnaps El Presidente's daughter, which prompts Juan into action. And when he tries to save her, he's killed and then wakes up in the land of the dead. And within the land of the dead, he finds a magical luchador mask that transforms him into a powerful magical luchador. And now he sets out to save the world and save the girl. And so he gets to explore a magical-themed Mexican world that, like I said, plays on Mexican myths, plays on Mexican fables. And as you go through the game, you learn new abilities, new wrestling-themed abilities that help you reach out to explore more of the land and track down this evil skeleton. If that did it.
Yeah, that wraps it up pretty nicely.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that wraps it up really nicely, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it definitely is. It is a Metroidvania game, which it is a game that presents a world to the player, gives them an obvious goal. They have a goal to work towards. But what's great about it is that the player is free to explore that world at their own pace. And there are places in the game where they do have an option, and they do have different ways of playing through. And that's what's really great about Metroidvania games, is that two players with similar skill sets and with similar goals will go through the game in entirely different paths. And that kind of minute-to-minute decision-making about which paths you're going to take to get which treasures, to get which upgrades, kind of defines your playthrough. And each playthrough having its identity is something that's very, very powerful.
Another good thing about the game, too, is the characters, not just Juan, but the rest of the characters are really well fleshed out. They all have a kind of a backstory to include the antagonist, like as you're going through the storyline. I don't want to give anything away, but I'm just saying that the characters themselves are very well fleshed out, too.
Thank you, and that's one thing that's important. One thing that from source material, one thing where it diverges typically from a traditional Metroidvania formula, like Metroid games especially, are really about isolation and exploration. The best Metroid games are the ones that definitely play up on those themes. Anytime Metroid has tried to forcefully involve other characters in the story, it's been a little unsuccessful.
Other M.
So I will hold specifically about Other M is. Other M's the worst game I've ever played. Okay, I'm not going to say anything more. Other M. Metroid Prime is my all-time favorite game. So with Metroidvania games, presenting them in that way, so we figured that if we want to introduce characters into a game that doesn't traditionally have a large cast, that we wanted to make them fleshed out, interesting, and meaningful to the world as well. These characters definitely belong, and they impact the world.
I'm glad. It's pretty successful now. Are you considering a sequel for it? I know you can't really go into that far, but would you consider a sequel for it? We're going to see a new IP coming out. Can you give us that much?
No. I mean, just like earlier with the question about moving beyond platformers, it's the same kind of question. And absolutely, it just depends on whether or not that kind of game is what we want to speak to as a studio. Is that what we want to give the world? And as for a Guacamelee sequel, if it is what we would like to represent us as a studio, for sure. If the idea is strong enough, we have to think about what is Guacamelee, what is the identity of Guacamelee, what does it mean to have a sequel, does it involve the same characters, can new characters be introduced into a Guacamelee sequel, and figuring out those kind of questions are exactly the process of determining whether or not we want to do a sequel. And it's the same thing for new IP as well. Is that what we want to do right now? And There's lots of ideas floating around the studio right now. There's lots of discussions happening, and we're trying to nail down, what do we want to do next? What direction do we want to go in? And whether it's a sequel or whether it's not, all I can say for sure is that we'll go with the strongest idea.
Okay, is it so you don't really know yet, or you can't tell us?
Or you're just not going to tell us?
No, it's honestly decisions that are currently being made. There's stuff that we're working on, but that's always the question we're asking: is what's the best thing we could be doing?
Yeah.
And if we decide that yes, a sequel is the best course, that's what we'll do. But every day we're still wondering, and we're still trying to figure it out, and we're still working with ideas.
I see. Okay, so you also I know I saw 2 of your games on the Steam platform now, and I was looking at Guacamelee and I saw a bunch of achievements going on. Are they similar? They're the same as the ones that you see on the PlayStation? And
Yeah, the Steam achievements. The Steam achievement list is the same list that appears in the PS3 version, and that's because a lot of care and thinking went into those achievements. There are some of them, I have my own personal thoughts on achievements. One of them being is I think you can't be too liberal with them, but you got to be fairly generous. One thing that annoyed me on the Xbox 360 was a couple years ago I played Devil May Cry 4, and I beat that game, then I beat it on the hard mode, and then I unlocked a bunch of things, and I have 160 achievement points.
Yeah, that's the worst.
I think that achievements and trophies need to be a direct representation of the effort you've put into that game. Yeah. And I've played some games. One I was also frustrated with was Max Payne 3. I was 3/4 of the way through Max Payne 3 and had 0%.
Yeah.
I was like, what's wrong with this? And ultimately it went towards turning me off. I felt like I wasn't achieving anything, and I'm like, this is strange.
Yeah.
And likewise, there's stories of games that people purposely seek out to rent or buy used because they give you an easy 1,000, which also I think is the wrong course of action to go. But someone needs to feel that. So definitely there's progression points in the story. When you get the mask, that is an achievement. When you beat the first couple of bosses, we give you achievements. But as well, as you dig deeper and as you work towards trying to get that platinum or trying to get all the achievements, the ones that are deep down, the ones for players who really want to get into the game, are for me the most interesting ones. And for me as a designer, they're ones that really involve pushing the mechanics to their limits. Specifically with the Steam version of the game now, you get what was the original PlayStation 3 game's DLC included for free. That's just part of the package. Which is the new El Infierno, the Devil's Domain level. And that was one that I was the lead designer on. I was the one that designed that entire level and created that entire portion of the game. And for there, it was very important for me, which was another interesting thing, which was we had never heard of a Metroidvania game that had done DLC before. And that was an interesting proposition, is how do you approach it? How do you make a new level for a Metroidvania game? You can't just plop a new level in the middle of the world, because the world of a Metroidvania game is a very carefully crafted and curated experience. It's very well calculated. It has to be for it to work. So if you just drop a new area right in the middle, that has the chance of ruining everything without a whole lot of thought. And that's why what it wound up being is really it was thought of as a side area. And that's just because, like I said, the game is its own experience, and the Devil's Domain level is one that really tests you. It tests the player. And the analogy I've always used is that the full game is the primer, and then the Devil's Domain is the final exam. And throughout the game, the game is very carefully designed in that when you get a certain ability, you're immediately shown through the level design how that ability is useful and how to use it. And then in the Devil's Domain area, it's like, well, we taught you what that ability does, how it can help you, and now we're going to give you different ways of using it, or maybe using it outside of ways you didn't realize. Like maybe that one move is, a headbutt, but also that headbutt stalls you in air for a full second and a half. So maybe that could be used to avoid a deadly trap or something. And that was the thought behind that. And those achievements, to come back to the point, kind of emphasize that. The achievements, the deep down ones, the ones that aren't part of regular progression, really ask the player to think about the abilities they've gained throughout the game and how they can use them to maximum benefit, or how they can use them in ways that maybe they didn't think they could before.
Mhm.
And
As a collector junkie, are you going to jump on the Steam trade card thing too, or you're just going to bypass that?
Steam trading cards, like I've gone through the whole full briefing with Valve where they were like, here's Steam trading cards and here's what they are. And my initial reaction was just like, this is absolute brilliance. This is amazing.
I know, right?
They're like Valve are geniuses. I'm fairly new to Steam myself. I'm a pretty hardcore. I've been a lifelong console gamer.
Mm-hmm.
I typically own. That's why I have a Wii U. I get every console. Everyone's been asking me, the big debate of PS4, Xbox One, and I'm like, every console cycle, I'm like, oh. I mean, I don't want to miss out. I don't want to miss out on anything. If I'm missing out on something, that's just bad for me. I want to be part of everything. As such, buying every console ever. Over my shoulder is my retired console, the N64 and my Dreamcast up there.
Is that a Power Glove too?
There's a Power Glove on top of the NES.
I see a PS1 there, I think.
Yeah.
There should be, yeah. PS1, Saturn as well.
Oh, wow.
The black
Aww.
one, Saturn.
And that's a
I have
Dreamcast.
the jungle green N64. That was still
Nice.
the most beautiful one. I mean, my sister and I are gonna have huge divorce fights if we ever have to split that up between us.
Oh, it won't come to that.
Oh, believe you me, man. I don't
Super
think you
Smash Brothers.
understand.
And Steam trading cards, yeah. So I'm fairly new to Steam, but I'm all wide-eyed, and I'm like, this is amazing. And I've already got a bunch of games on Steam, and I get Steam sales. Yeah, Steam sales. Steam sales are great.
Yeah.
But yeah, being a console gamer, I never invested much in my home PC. It gets the job done for what I need. Honestly, I've been doing my Steam playing lately at my work machine. My work machine's a beast. It can handle anything, so I've been playing there. I will probably upgrade my PC soon because Steam is awesome. And the community hub on Steam is amazing. Like I said, people sharing screenshots, sharing stories, sharing player skins for Guacamelee is amazing. It's such a great and healthy community. I want to be part of that. And part of that is, I want to collect Steam trading cards. I myself am trying to work on a full Guacamelee set. I've got to find some people to trade with because that system is brilliant, and I got to do what I can to make sure I can get them all.
I, for one, just sell them all off.
I got the chicken card.
That is amazing. The valuation they put behind it, the fact that the Steam trading card system has its own mini stock market behind it is part of the brilliance.
And is it that you guys pull some of the profit as well, or is it just Steam, or you guys split it? How does it work?
In terms of trading cards, there is. I think that it's pretty much minimal. I know very much anything made off Steam trading cards, it is designed to be peer-to-peer. Of course, Steam Valve gets their cut. I'm actually not 100% sure if I'm not sure if developers get a cut of trading card.
Okay.
I'm inclined to think not. So I think it's entirely designed to be a peer-to-peer system.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying that, I don't know for sure. Don't quote me on any of that to be 100% certain. I may have to go check my documentation to be sure.
So, what was it like getting Guacamelee onto Steam? I assume it's very, since you were just going on about how supportive the community is, what was the process getting it onto that community?
Sure. It was treated like its own game project. Anytime you're dealing with a port, is never that easy of a thing. It's practically, it's not the same as building a game from scratch, of course, but that's not to say you can undercut just how much work it is. So it took a lot of work to be able to do that. We had team members that were dedicated to making sure the Steam version of the game turned out as good as it could have. And I know that we had someone who was directly in contact with Valve at all times. I think they've been very supportive with helping us get on the marketplace, helping us figure out an appropriate release date. 6 months ago, August was looking pretty good for releases, and then just in the past 3 or 4 months, it turned into a whole bunch of crowded mess.
Yeah.
Mini summer holiday.
Yeah, I know, right?
But it's been pretty good. Last week was great for indie releases on Steam. Spelunky and Papers, Please.
Papers, Please is really good.
And Guacamelee. I hope, my hope, fingers crossed, is that everyone picked up all 3 games because all 3 are deserving, for sure. Papers, Please is really.
It's such a simple, way to play a game too. It's just, I think I talked about it with you guys last week. It's basically you just sit there and check passports, and it's all about checking the.
That game.
And it's been out for free for a really long time as a beta, and I've been playing it for quite a few months now. But yeah, it's all about detail, like checking the detail of the passport to make sure that you're letting the right people in, and you can choose to let some people in to make X amount of money or to help your cause. But it's a really simple game, but very entertaining.
It is entertaining, and talking about how deep can games go with their messaging, like that is a game with a true morality system, I think. Outside of the black and white, do you choose A, do you choose B for light side or dark side points, like that game has a true morality system in that there's an ocean of gray area to deal with. And getting it on Steam was, like I said, overall positive experience. We're glad it's out on Steam right now. We're glad that many more people can experience it. And for anyone that was waiting on it, we appreciate their patience, and hopefully they're enjoying the game right now if they hadn't had a chance to play it.
So, going for on the topic of ports, was the Xbox platform ever a consideration for you guys?
For sure. In the early days of development, when the game was just being prototyped and pitched, absolutely. Like we were talking with publishers, we were looking at getting onto Xbox Live Arcade, of course. We were looking at that as a possible target, and it was Sony themselves that approached Drinkbox, and presented them with the pub fund, which is part of what funded the game. And they were like, we have this deal where Sony it was the beginnings, not even the beginnings, but it was really when they were making their big push to want to attract indie developers to their platform. And they were like, hey, we have this deal, we have this system in place, we'd like to know if you'd want to be a part of it. And looking at what they were offering, it was really, at the end of the day, it was going to help us bring Guacamelee to life in one of the best ways we felt we could do it, So basically Sony was there, they offered, and we felt that it was a direction to go in for sure.
Yeah, it was a smart buy on their part. But does that disclude? I know now that the Xbox One, they released that news with allowing the console to be a developer's kit now.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And then dropping the cost for patches or patch fees.
Yes.
So now that that's available, are you guys thinking of possibly moving future IPs there, or is everything going to Sony and Steam?
Well, part of the deal with Sony through Pub Fund is an exclusivity period. That's part of the contracting. But at any time, whenever we approach every new project we approach is a clean slate,
mm-hmm.
And we'll look for whatever helps us be able to, like I said, make that game come to life. Whichever way lets us finish that game in a way that is, effective for us, and also lets us bring it to as many people as possible. So at no time is it ever off the table. At no time is it ever something that we're not thinking about, for sure. We're always thinking about it, and we'll just always weigh it out with, we're constantly talking to publishers, talking to other developers to, get their opinions. and always talking to the distributors as well, be it whether it's Valve with Steam, Nintendo with their eShop, XBLA or PSN. We'll always talk to them. And going forward, absolutely, new consoles, new console generations, new opportunities, and we'll definitely be looking at all of them at all times for sure.
Right. But with because you guys have had a pretty good relationship thus far with Sony, with Mutant Blob's Attack being a Vita Day 1 launch, and Guacamelee being published by Sony. With that relationship, have they already approached you to build a new IP for them, or have they already approached you to kind of throw another exclusive on their consoles, especially with the new console generation coming up?
Sure. We're talking with them all the time. It is really good and really important to have a good relationship. And Sony so far, the guys that they've got working there right now, Nick Suttner, Shane Bettenhausen, it was really great for me. They're guys that I grew up admiring from their days when they were part of websites like 1UP and EGM. Those guys have long been heroes of mine. So the fact that they get that and they're working with developers right now is a very positive thing. Really enjoy that. So having a good relationship is super important. So it's always something that we want to keep in mind. And we're talking to Sony all the time. And when we feel that it's something we want to go in that direction, it's something that we'll do. But right now, like I said, just ongoing conversations are happening. Definitely every day, at least.
Cool. One of the questions I had that actually related to the earlier one about your Ontario government funding was actually whether or not, because every game studio lately seems to be jumping on the Kickstarter bandwagon, was it ever a consideration for you to do, for crowdfunding to be an alternative source of funding? Sure.
I mean, starting at the beginning of September is when Kickstarter is going to open up for Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk about that going around the development.
There we go.
Perfect. Sorry about that, guys. Again. Weird.
No, it's fine.
Kickstarter itself, fundamentally, at the end of the day, it's just another avenue, just like talking with publishers, just like talking directly with distributors. It's another option, and we're going to approach it as such. Definitely. It's the kind of thing where we'll weigh it out, and if it just so happens Kickstarter is the best way to go, it's definitely something that we'll do. As of right now, like I said, it's just something that we have to, and we are, discussing for sure. But at the point at which it becomes the best option is when we would go. And right now, we haven't come to that kind of conclusion yet.
Okay. So you don't subscribe to because there's a general feeling about a lot of smaller developers, a lot of people who do participate in crowdfunding, whether or not you're too big of a studio to need that sort of source of funding, as opposed to finding others. What do you think about that?
Personally, and this is one of the times where I'll say that this is just my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. I definitely think personally that Kickstarter is more suited for 2-3-man teams. Mm-hmm. Small teams of a couple of guys that just want to bring this really crazy, interesting idea. Kickstarter is best when you can look at a Kickstarter, you can say, I totally get that no publisher would take this risk, but I want to see the game. I really want to see this game. And I think that's what it's really for.
Yeah.
And like I said, at some point we may decide that's we're doing something that fits with those kind of goals, that fits with that kind of profile, and at that point we would probably look into it. But I personally think I've only backed a couple of things on Kickstarter so far, and they've both been things where, to me, it's instantly if I look at them like I want that to happen. And I don't think that'll happen without my support. So I want to help that come to life. And for me personally, they've been small 2- or 4-man teams because I think that's really who needs it for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those are my questions.
Yeah, Kickstarter is kind of a weird thing. I mean, I've seen what was the last big. Because you also get old, nostalgic developers coming back to try to make games.
Are you talking about Star Citizen?
I'm talking about Leisure Suit Larry Reloaded.
Oh, jeez.
And then they were recently
Dreamfall chapters got funded. I was seriously happy to hear about that. That was a large part of like the last 10 years.
Speaking of Kickstarters that are big right now, that Project Phoenix or whatever it is, that just came out with Nobuo Uematsu being the lead composer.
It's the JRPG.
Yes.
Yeah.
That thing looks amazing already, and I haven't even watched the video yet.
Oh, it's already been funded. It released 3 days ago or something. It's already well overfunded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the other developer that we had on recently, Andalusian, their game Tangiers,
they got funded.
They just got funded too, and they're a smaller team as well, which it's good to see that the gaming community is so supportive of all these Kickstarters going on. Even if it's not just games, we have so much tech coming out that it's all funded by Kickstarter that they wouldn't have been able to push out if it didn't exist.
Ooh, yeah.
Hey, it's
The Oculus.
The Oculus.
Yeah.
What's the treadmill thing now?
The Omni.
The Omni.
Yeah.
Which
I should get one of those.
I really do want it. I've been practicing running and stuff in real life, so
He's been playing that outside game.
The other recent Kickstarter, which is interesting, is the StarCraft Universe Kickstarter. If anyone
yeah.
heard of or seen that.
Do you know Blizzard's behind him on that, and they're giving him resources?
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much news popping up about it in the past couple of days. It's really exciting. I really want this to happen.
I think I have.
But that's one of the other things that I'm just like, if you already have Blizzard backing you, do you need to go to?
I don't think they're actually fully funding him. I think they're more supporting him.
Yeah, not funding. They're giving him actual game resources.
Yeah.
Like they're giving him assets. They kind of are saying like, you have our blessing. Go do this if you can. It sounds awesome. Like, yes, do this. They're not gonna put down the money for it.
It's true. I see. Guys, it is 10:21 right now. If you guys have looked at the clock, we kept a good. What is this?
This was definitely not
already 20.
An hour, maybe 2.5 minutes more than we said we would.
And you were only expecting 30.
You're only expecting 32.5.
I've been flying by. I've been having a great time.
Yeah, I was gonna say you hold a great conversation.
Yeah, you are really into this, and I probably would like you to go on longer, but I think we're hitting a pretty damn long podcast length here, so maybe we should wrap up. Was there anything else you wanted to say about your game, about you, this company, before we wrap up?
Just that I hope anyone who's playing Guacamelee enjoys it. I hope that it comes across the amount of passion and fun that went into creating it. I hope that comes through in the final game, because it was an absolute joy to make and something that we're all very, very proud of. And hopefully everyone that gets to experience feels that, and we really hope so. And that makes the entire thing worthwhile.
I think so. It's a really fun game, and I love the art style. It's just
I'll let you know that I know there's at least 4 of us here that have played it, and we're all really enjoying it. I know that there was another guy who wanted to be in the podcast. He couldn't make it. But he was also really excited about the game, and he was really upset that he couldn't make it for this podcast.
Yeah.
He's been playing it since the PS.
Oh yeah, he did a review of your game, and he gave it a 9 out of 10, and gave it all the praise. So.
Well, that's great. Thanks to him. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I got my tail kicked by the whole church battle in the very beginning.
Me too. That was embarrassing. I was like, oh, this is so real.
That's about the time I had to turn it off because I had other things I had to get done.
Frustration.
Really?
Yeah,
Really? I did that for 5
frustration.
minutes. I stopped. I came back and I beat it in 2 seconds. And I was like, oh, well, yeah.
I have to say how I'm not having as much trouble as these people, but there's this one part where you're in this little corridor and the enemies keep spawning and spawning and spawning and spawning, and there are just dozens. And if you get at the on the right side of the thing, you can just hit it and just throw one enemy and it knocks all of them. Yes. And I got like a 200 plus hit combo, and it was just so satisfying. And I got it without getting
Combo
hurt, so I
breaker.
got that achievement as well.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
It was fun. It's a whole lot of fun. I can't wait to play more of it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Nice. I'm
Last thing
just
before
bad at
we-
controls, I guess.
Yeah, last thing before we wrap up, if people are interested in finding you on the internet, where can they do that? You said you had a blog, you have a Twitter, all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my own personal website, which is www.jasoncanam, which is CANAM, means Canadian American, actually, .com. And my Twitter handle is @JasonCanam, and link to my blog is on my website. And yeah, I like to write about games, sometimes about game development. I recently made a post that was featured on the front page of Gamma Sutra, which was an in-depth
Nice.
discussion of how Guacamelee's DLC was designed, and I kind of
I think I read that.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
I did,
And I
yeah.
touched on those issues of, how do you make DLC fit into this kind of game, and I kind of talked about the process and how those levels were built. I really love game music. I used to do it at least once a month. It's been on pause for a while, but I'm going to get back into writing about game music. I love writing spotlights on specific games that have great music. And yeah, I'm a dude that loves games, loves games a whole lot, and loves
Have you
sharing that love
considered-
with as many people as possible. And being able to talk with you guys tonight about games has been an absolute blast. Like I said, time has flown by, and I'd love to again sometime.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Have you considered writing for Gameskinny?
Yeah, I gotta plug Gameskinny.
Because we could do that. We gotta plug this.
If you need something
You mean-
covered, I love to talk games. I love to talk game design. Not just stuff that if you find that people are interested and they want to learn about game design, I love to talk game design.
All right. Awesome.
Great.
I like this
But,
plan.
no, it's
I
been-
like this plan.
Sounds
An
Yeah.
absolute pleasure. guys.
So one more thing before we go. Drinkbox Studios was gracious enough to give us 5 Steam DLC codes for the bundle, which includes Mutant Blobs Attack and Guacamelee. If you're following us on Twitch, or if you're following on Twitter, we're going to be picking 5 people at random to give the codes to, so that you guys can
And
play it
Facebook.
absolutely free.
Yeah, we'll be
At the
sorting
book
that out because
Facebook.
right now the stream unfortunately was having issues. So
Yeah, it died.
It died.
We'll be sorting-
we
we'll
are
sort
good at
that out.
technology.
We'll be
But
sorting
yeah,
that out.
no. We'll get that out to you.
Probably-
Thanks again to Jason.
Yes.
Absolutely, thank you guys. And
You
like
know.
all new updates on Drinkbox Games, drinkboxstudios.com. The blog there updates with what we're doing. Follow at Drinkbox Studios
Already
for
did.
everything
Visit.
we're doing. And hopefully, when we have new stuff to announce, you'll be hearing it first on the internet. For
Yeah,
sure.
when you guys
You're
announce
welcome back
something, we'll have you
anytime.
back.
Oh,
We will definitely be following you on Twitter after this.
Yes.
awesome! Thank you guys.
All right.
All right.
All right, that's it, guys.
Yep.